Hi, welcome to Reboot TV with me, Steve Jakes. To my right, I've got co-founder and fellow business partner Gregory J. Baker. And to my left, we've got the lovely, the wonderful, the incredible Kellie Jones, who's not only a dear friend of us, but also one of the early adopters in taking part in the Reboot programme. So thank you for joining us, Kellie. I know it's absolutely cracking weather. We couldn't have picked a better day for it. It's absolutely beautiful. So, again, so thanks for joining us and giving up your time. So, really, let's get going quite quickly. So, obviously, you were one of the very, very early adopters of doing the Reboot programme. And funnily enough, obviously, we've been quite close friends for many years, but only in the last couple of years we've been, really close friends. And obviously, I've been going through my own journey and my own stuff, and it was you that actually said to me, I went and saw Gregory, and after I saw him, I did feel reborn after that. So, bringing it back to you, how did you meet Gregory? How did you know Greg? And how did you get to find out and start the whole journey of getting involved in doing the programme?
Well, I've known Gregory the same as I knew you through past relationships, friends.
Yeah.
We're all kind of a similar age group, but mostly from being sociable.
Yeah.
So when I saw that Gregory was doing these little seminars, I laughed to myself and I thought, God, Gregory, the last person I go to.
That's nice, isn't it?
Last person I go to for something like that, know, I'd likely to go to him for a let's go out and have a dance.
Yeah.
So anyway, without going into the whole story of how I ended up being at a seminar, fate and chance would have it that somebody else had won a free voucher to come along. They couldn't use it, handed it to me. I thought, oh well, me being me, I never say no to an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I went along anyway. I came in late, which is quite usual. I was born 3 weeks late and came part way into the seminar. But the bit that I came into was the bit that changed, that flipped something in my mind. And that was where you were teaching about the win-win, win-lose, lose-win, lose-lose scenario. And I very quickly realised, sitting there listening to that I'd spent my whole life being in a lose-win situation.
Yeah, and I think most of us...
Me being in the lose.
So that's quite common, because for me...
Quite often in the lose crying.
Yeah, for me I was
because I'm not the winner.
Yeah.
So for the people watching this video now, what we mean by that is that in any social dynamic, whether it's you and your partner or you and your mum or you and someone else, in order to maybe keep the peace, you'll always back down or lose and you'll make sure the other person gains from a situation. So you're always in this lose-win scenario.
The opposite, a win-lose.
You could be a win-lose,
yeah.
But in this case...
absolutely.
It was you can be the win person and make sure everyone else loses. There are 6 paradigms. You can check that out, Stephen Covey. But that's the emphasis of it. It was quite eye-opening, I think, for you. I know it was for me when I learnt it, because I realised I was doing both. I was about 60% lose-win and 40% win-lose.
Yeah.
So I was either using everybody or being used by everybody. There was no balance. There was no win-win going on.
Yeah.
It was
that was what struck me as like, oh my God, that's me. I think I need to do something about that pretty soon.
Yeah.
Because events around me were beginning to highlight it much more massively. I'd done quite a lot of work previous to that, so like yourself with NLP and hypnotherapy,
and the Joe Dispenza stuff.
I'd been on a spiritual growth path journey for quite a long time. I mean, in fact, it's where it was a surprise to find out that you two were into that kind of stuff. It was no surprise to you that I was into that kind of stuff.
I mean, having a yoga thing, it was not quite... I expected
but it. But even pre-yoga studio, pre any of that, I'd always been interested and that way inclined 70s hippie child of the summer.
Yeah.
Not of 69, 1970, I might say. But anyway, so I'd been on that journey for a long time. And then the next part in that seminar that struck me was the orbed thing of blame, excuse, deny, and ownership, accountability, responsibility. And I realised that I was a person that was above the line, but almost too much, in the way of all of these courses and things that I've been doing were to discover that. And I was very good at taking responsibility for my own actions, but almost so much so that I blamed myself.
Yes.
Totally, it must be something I'm doing, and therefore that was keeping me in the lose-win scenario, because I'd be, it's my fault. You can win.
And this goes back to that conversation we had last night with those psychologists, where we're saying that, you know, sometimes you can be given these tools, but if their tools are interpreted or perceived in the wrong way, they can actually be counterproductive towards your development. So, I mean, for me, the orbed thing was, you know, I mean, I think for anyone, once you learn that distinction,
there's a distinction in the
it's massive. It's
the
a
webinar,
massive game changer, I think.
And we use it in all the work that we do, in all the courses we do. So it's a real fundamental thing. And
but it's a super helpful thing to know about, because as soon as you become very vigilant about that, you start to notice around you who's blaming, excusing, denying, and so it starts to then help to shape who you spend more time with.
Yeah. Well, you
and
do
less time with, until you whittle it down to those few that you're like, right.
Yeah.
I know what to do now, because I'm confronted by maybe a family member or a work colleague that you have to be around.
Yeah.
And you're not sure how to deal with that, but it's good because you lessen the amount, and then doing that kind of work with yourself enables you to know how to be with those few around you, and maybe still stuck in that.
So it gives you a higher level of awareness.
And what it taught me, what you taught me, this has helped me out so many times since, and I've been to other coaches and done other seminars and things since my work with you, but you were the first person to point out to me how much power I have.
Yep. Lots.
That I was not living. I was not seeing that in myself, or I was maybe not necessarily not seeing it in myself, but fearful of it coming out because of what that might cause. So it would be like, for instance, if I had the opportunity to go on to The Voice. Yeah, I'm not a singer, by the way. I love to sing. But we've done that once, haven't we, Gregory?
Yes,
not again. It's part of the journey. Part of the journey, realising I didn't want to be a solo singer. But if I was given that opportunity, so say I was given that opportunity because I had an amazing voice to share, and someone came along and offered me the opportunity to go on to The Voice, I probably would have lost my voice.
You would have sabotaged it unconsciously
or
some way.
Something, some kind of seemingly realistic scenario would crop up to stop me from being on The Voice, from anybody seeing me, from me shining and showing my gifts and talents.
Yeah. I don't know if that sounds familiar for people watching this, but it's certainly, you know, I totally get that. And
I like to think of how many how many opportunities I've had to really do that, because I've got a few things I've absolutely quashed them, and I've totally before it's even been. I had an idea it was going to be suggested, and I've already quashed it before it's even happened.
Right, so you've even got
sabotaged it before it even got to that point.
That's what you were doing, I've been doing that. I was doing that as well. So I had to go through my journey, but I don't want to take it away from you. But I think if this sounds familiar to you, it's happened to all of us. We've all got our talents, but we'll have often we'll have. In your case, Kelly, what I'm hearing is that you kind of know you've got that talent and you want to present it in some way, but then as you get closer to it, some almost seemingly
imaginary fear comes in, and
something will create a whole set of valid reasons, real reasons why you can't go do it. And
that's the distinction about what I've really found powerful with the orbed was the valid excuses. Because for me, an excuse was an excuse, but hang on, no, but I don't care. There's no way I could have done it, but then when you start breaking down and going into the actual distinction properly, you realise that they're just really excuses.
They
and
are.
and they are valid, and they don't help you. But getting back to you, so you did the Orbed thing, and so what else did you take from the seminar?
Ultimately, that it struck, those couple of things struck me, and I knew as soon as I left there that the thing I most needed to concentrate on was not being a loser. But obviously that sparked off an intrigue into myself as to why. Being that I practice yoga, part of yoga is self-study. So that's something I then started to really delve into, the self-study of, what is it and why is it that causes me to be in very amazing, lucky situations, but I still seem to end up being the one who's poor old Kellie.
Yeah.
Not playing the victim, but ending up being the victim, even though I didn't feel like a victim.
I understand.
Because lots of people are like, oh, poor me, but I wasn't poor me, but I seemed to end up poor me, even though that wasn't my mindset. And so a scenario happened with a work colleague which highlighted again this situation where it started to become clear to me that somewhere way back when, because I understand from all the studying that I've done that lots of our program is in there by the time you're about 6 years old, when you haven't even got the ability to make a proper decision about anything. That you're just taking that information literally and then live literally according to that installed belief, without knowing that it's not, whether it's true or not.
And it's running, and it's controlling
it's just
you.
Running.
And not only not whether it's true or not, but you're just running anyway. It's not just about the truth about it, it's just happening. So you're unconsciously doing this behaviour, whether it's a sabotage.
And I don't like to think of it as a nasty devil that's controlling me. It's me protecting me. So
it's a survival.
Leaping forward a little bit as to where I'm at now. Now I've become a teacher of self-love, but it's taken me to realise that bit of me that I was annoyed with, that kept doing this thing, was ultimately loving me, really. And so that's how you can make peace with that. But it's taken lots of different events, scenarios, coaching, and coming across different people to help me. But I looked this morning at my mission statement about helping others to write their own song and ripping up the instructions of how we're being told how to be. Essentially, that inside me, that's what's going to come out.
Does that still resonate with you now when you read that?
Yeah, and that was 28th of October 2013. So it's nearly 5 years ago, Gregory.
It's powerful how that vision and mission is.
Wow, that's got to me.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking last night, and we were saying how powerful, when we go back and read our own visions and missions, we go back and we read them, how they so connect with us. It just lights us up. I mean, when I read mine, I'm like, oh my God, that's just me. And I become like overwhelmed with euphoria just reading some statement about, why my vision is here. And so
and I would say that's not maybe for everybody. I mean, there's not enough other people here to ask their opinion, but when I wrote mine down, it kind of felt right. I was pleased that we'd got to that point, but it's taken 5 years for me to look at my wall, see that and go, oh my God, now I see how that is playing itself out now. At the time, I knew that's what it was in here, but I didn't know how it was going to materialise, how it could present itself, how that could actually happen. Because I was, even though you're doing the work, you've still got to then, it's like going to any great seminar, you come out there like, yes, I've solved all my problems, I've worked it all out, and then you go back into the pattern of everyday habitual behaviour.
Absolutely.
So there's work on that, but I remember the exact point when I messaged Gregory and said, right, that's it, I need to do this work with you now. And we met that morning at 11 o'clock for a coffee, in a cafe down the road.
Yep.
Because at 5:30 in the morning, I'd received a text message from a work colleague.
Yep.
Speaking to me in a way that
remember
I
this.
would not wish to be spoken to, and I looked at it and I'm like, how has it come to the point where yet another person thinks they can talk to me like that? What am I doing?
Yep.
Ownership.
Ownership,
What
yeah.
am I doing
To-
to let that person think that it's okay to send me a message at 5:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
blaming me for everything?
Yeah.
This needs to stop. I need to do something about it. I want to deal with this. And really, I came along because I wanted to deal with that person, but knowing that I wanted that to be the last time I had to deal with
Wow,
a
that's quite
person
powerful.
like that. Now, as it so turns out, it's still taken those 5 years to realise that gradually, all the other people in my life, because there's been a lot of scenarios which you know about,
Yeah,
I was surrounded
absolutely,
by
yeah.
them, wasn't I?
Yep.
They were everywhere.
A magnet for it.
Yeah, they were in my house, they were staying in my spare room, they were at my work. There was all these people going, yeah, it's great with Kelly because we get to win everything. She
Yeah.
don't want anything for it. We can say whatever we like to
Yeah.
her, and she's all right.
Yeah.
It's just Kelly.
So after,
She'll be fine.
So after you'd obviously
Yeah.
done the insights, and you obviously had a big, had a big eye opener there. And it's quite funny because I think everybody so far we've interviewed has basically said when they decided to do it, they were on the phone saying, "Oh, I've got to do it now, and I did it, and Kelly done it, and Jonathan did it," and so it's really quite interesting that sort of the dynamic that's behind it when you actually decide that you're going to do it and you realise it's sort of like a must got to have it now type energy, and so then obviously you decided to do the live.
No, this is you're the only one you're the exception. Do you remember?
I am.
She went straight to the programme.
Oh really?
Straight in there.
But you had to convince me, didn't you? Because what we actually did, because we had a little private session, but you just went straight to the programme, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was a little reluctant, wasn't I? Mm-hmm. Even though, I wanted to help, and I was like, oh, this is... And I was a bit bent out of shape, because I was like, this is fucking the process,
it's
I don't know
not
what to
right,
do.
Yeah.
But
But then, to be fair, I had done quite a lot of work already, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like I didn't have any understanding.
Yeah. I said that to him and it didn't work for me. I still have to do the live. So. I went in that. Yeah. I mean, but I'm glad I did the live because actually the live was a massive thing for me. And had I have not done the live, I probably would have not done or I'd have been less inclined to do the
No,
Genesis.
yeah.
And I really needed it, but that's a different story. So you went straight into the actual what we call Genesis now. So just briefly talk us through your experience of that.
Well, I remember the pain of going through all your disillusions in life,
Dissatisfaction.
dissatisfactions,
Emotional cancers, yep.
Yeah.
and all my wells. So I remember, like, my work well was like full up to brimming and overspilling, and pretty much all the rest were empty.
Funny that.
So we talk about the 7 wells, which are wells being life-giving. So it's a holistic view of one's life. So you've got your spiritual well, you've got your career well, your finance well, your personal development well.
Family
Well, I think
well.
my social life was
So-
like amazing as well. wasn't it?
Social and hobbies.
Yeah.
And then physical and mental. So you've got these 7 wells, and what we're saying is we give them a little measure. So we do a little snapshot, and what you were saying was your work well was just brimming, and all the others, and social was probably doing all right, but the rest were very, very low.
Yeah,
And
but
so-
I was with people all the time,
Yeah.
which keeps you from yourself.
Yeah.
So, not only one of the really upsetting things was that my family well was pretty much empty. I never really saw my family. I felt like the black sheep. I mean, I still do, but I'm okay with it now. But I felt like I was too different, and so I didn't even want to spend time with them. I'd sort of convinced myself that I didn't want to, and my money well, look as far as you like. We're empty. Couldn't find anything in there, and it was that again was that scenario of like, well, how comes? One of the things that was really highlighted on that course was that I had all this business that I was running, and all the people that were working in the business were all doing really well. They were so happy, except for me, I had no money and I was struggling and I had the fear and the anxiety of all of that. And what it did is it started to highlight a pattern. That ultimately, doing all of that, the dissatisfactions, the wells, it starts to show you what's going on repetitively, even though, as we know, every scenario in life seems as though it's completely, I mean, it's a real scenario, but how did I end up in that scenario?
Yeah.
Why did I what choices did I make that landed me there for that to happen?
And then what behaviours are you repeating to keep you there?
And what am I doing that I'm not realising I'm doing?
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing. Not what you're not realising.
That is the thing, that you can sit and think logically about it and try and work it out all day. You're never going to work it out logically.
Ever.
Never ever.
Never.
Because that's not where it is.
And I can tell you that because I probably spent the last 4 years doing that and coming up to the fact that I had spent 4 solid years trying to work it out. I only realised that I hadn't even come close when I actually found out what it really was. It was somewhere in another field, 6 foot under the ground, buried, and I was like, well, I've never found it. So that's
so can I
powerful,
just
Kellie,
do the context?
Really
so just to add for these two. So Steve's recently done the programme. You've been 5 years. I'm only a year and a bit ahead of you, to be fair. But for those that are watching, what we're saying is that comes a time where you're just not going to find it. You can't see the wood for the trees, and it takes an external input. And on the programme, what we do is we will reveal and uncover so much you don't even realise it's going on, because you sometimes need that. It's a bit like trying to clean a bit on your back. You can't see the bit that you're trying to clean. You need someone else to help you, maybe hold the mirror or something. You say, oh God, I didn't realise I had that bit there.
Yeah.
That's what we do. It's the bit that you can't see.
Yoga's really good for that, right?
Oh, okay.
Get into that bit.
I get to that.
That's a good point.
Use your toes to scratch it.
Ignore that that metaphor. But you understand, I think, what we're trying to say is this, that maybe some of the things that we're saying are resonating. There's a lot of stuff here that we talk about being hidden, or you can't see, or behaviours that you're doing you don't even realise doing, or you're a magnet, or you're attracting certain things that actually you don't want. You're attracting and if
people, scenarios, situations,
energies, negativity,
absolutely,
whatever it is for you, a lack of something, a lack of confidence, a lack of wealth, a lack of friends, whatever it is, it's something. When you choose, we talked about orbit, when you choose to take responsibility and go, do you know what, I'm going to be the cause in that matter. It's in that moment that you can actually make a change in what it is that we're talking about. And what we do at Reboot, we won't lie, as you're saying, it's very uncomfortable, isn't it? Everyone says it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very uncomfortable, because we're going to pull out the things that you have held, you've basically hidden, locked away.
And as the client, you'll do everything in your power to protect that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You fight it.
I fought like hell, and I wouldn't accept it. And it was really strange, because subconsciously, you actually want it. So I'm like, I really want to solve this, but something inside you just go, no, I'm not letting go of that. And it is hard, and it is challenging, but it's really worthwhile at the end of it. And you'll probably.
Well, I would say beyond the discomfort is the relief.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Beyond the discomfort is the relief.
Yeah, because I think that generally in life we go through life, skipping along, not being aware. We tell ourselves little lies about how things are and all the rest of it.
Or we make
up
things
these
okay
stories.
that aren't okay.
We make things okay that aren't okay, and then all of a sudden, like when things all of a sudden stop working for us, we've built up this whole portfolio of shit that we've created in our head, and beliefs that we've got, and lies that we've told ourselves, and then all of a sudden we still think that we know the answers to our problems, and actually they're so deep rooted that, like you say, you need some other intervention to actually help you expose them and pull them out. So,
and I think as well, just for benefit of anybody who might be listening, I think that where I said at the beginning, oh God, the last person I'd ever go to is you two. Yeah, because of how I know you from partying and having a good time and
That's
stuff like
true.
that. But actually, most people who are stuck in some kind of negative cycle, which is just not serving them at all, will have some shame wrapped around that. Something will have happened to make you feel bad about yourself that you would have done. And then you go into the feeling of shame about that, and then you don't want to experience that shame, so then you drink it away or whatever.
Yep.
But actually, coming to people, it was because of that, because I knew you from being out and socialising and ex-husbands and friends and stuff like that. It was actually easier in some ways because I knew nothing was going to shock you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because I know that you've lived, that you've had some shit.
Yep.
You've been dealing with yours.
It also
So
works
it
in
wasn't
the
like
reciprocal as
going.
well,
It
doesn't
wasn't
it?
like sitting somewhere where someone's just listening to you and you don't know anything about them, and so you might not reveal. You might feel like nervous to reveal anything about what you're really thinking. Whereas I felt like in a very safe space that whatever came out of my mouth, whatever I'd done, it was going to be okay.
Yeah, it also
Because
gives you
that's why I was there.
It also gives you confidence because it's like it's I don't want to say it's detrimentally, but you go and see someone who's going to help you from the textbook. It's not the same as going to see someone who's going to help you who's been there and experienced it or got some sort of idea of a similar experience that can actually resonate with where you are at that particular time. So it also works in the other way as well, which is very, very helpful because it's also helpful that you can trust the person who's you're working with because they probably had a similar experience. And
Well, even if it's not similar, it's just that knowing that no matter what I shared, I didn't have to feel bad about it. It was going to be accepted.
Could we say that perhaps there's no judgment?
No judgment.
There's no judgment.
Yeah.
that's what.
Thank you. Yes.
That's right. No, I was just.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Back
what
to
I was getting.
yoga.
Yeah.
Back to yoga. No judgment.
So for those that are listening, what I think Kellie's saying in essence there is that it's a really safe space. We've had some. I'm going to use a specific word I don't use very often, which is abhorrent. People with abhorrent things that have happened to them, but they felt safe that they could share that and they won't be judged for it. If anything, they'll feel relief just sharing it. Just in itself, it's quite cathartic to be able to say it, not get judged for it, and then help them own that and help them realise it's something that's happened and it's unlikely to happen again. Or if it's something that's repeated, it's now time for it to stop. And if you take ownership of it, and so it was lovely to hear what you just said there. And it's a common thing that people say. It's a safe space, and knowing that we've been through a fair bit ourselves. It's an understatement sometimes. But we've decided for that to stop for ourselves. I mean, life does still happen. You know, I'll still lose my dad at some point and what have you. But it's knowing that it's knowing how to deal with that and being powerful around that going forward. I think
Well, it's learning new behaviours to deal with stuff when it comes along and acting and responding in a different reaction.
Because life's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, but instead of going completely doolally and either drinking yourself into oblivion or throwing a hammer across the room or whatever it is you're going to do, you'll actually see it in a lot more centred and more appreciative.
Yeah.
It doesn't detract away the fact from the event, but the way you manage that event and the way you manage yourself is a lot more so grown up, but a little bit more more centred and more calmer.
It was more self-loving, I think.
Yeah, self-loving. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, and it enables you to forgive yourself and to forgive the other people that are maybe involved or in some way have contributed towards the situation that you find yourself in.
So let's go
when
back.
you start to understand it, you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I can stop punishing myself or the others. Or,
So you could be the cause in the matter of the repair, the cause in
Yeah.
the matter of the healing, the cause in the matter of.
Well, let's finish off with the reboot thing, and then we can go into this in a lot more detail because I know this is your area of expertise and what you're really focusing on in your life right now. So after obviously you've done the dissatisfactions, and obviously that obviously explained it's a difficult but really rewarding process. And after that, you would have done the mission and the vision and stuff. So how was that? We touched on it earlier, but how was that whole process for you? What was your experience of that?
Well, that woke something up in me, and as I said earlier, at the time, even when I wrote it down, I kind of knew that it was true, but I couldn't see how where I was at the time it was relevant or could materialise.
Yeah.
It was how, like, yes, that's my ideal. I just want to teach the whole world to share their voice and, rip up the instructions.
Yeah.
I knew that was true, but I didn't know from where I was to how that was going to play out. But it woke up. It was like a little, when you clicking the thing in the oven and you finally see the little flame, you're like, yes, I can't make it get bigger. I don't really know what I'm going to be cooking in that oven.
So you'd say so you
But
woke
there is
up,
a
but then
little
there was this
flame.
space. Would you say there was a space, or how would you describe it?
It was more like it woke something up in me, and then it's probably taken those 5 years to find the space.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
because that suddenly made me look at why am I doing what I'm doing, how have I ended up in this scenario, and where am I going to go from here with this little flame inside me. How am I going to grow that? And so
that's brilliant.
You know, just recently I hadn't been to you for a long time, but I came and had just a few hours session because I knew that you would be able to go back to that initial thing. I can remember coming round to yours and I expelled all what was going on, and you just listened, and then you printed a piece of paper off and you plonked it in front of me, and there was my mission statement to remind me of who I am and what I was there for, from that perspective where I was now, so I could see it in a different way to deal with it. So you came up with a way of me solving a solution that I couldn't work it out in my head because it wasn't to do with that.
Yes.
And you just helped me to see a tiny little window of hope to change where I was, and since then that was not that long ago and it's radically changed.
I haven't spoken to you for a while, so that's, I'm going to high five you for that. through actual action, and the rest of it because I just let it go and leave it to the universe to sort it out for me. And that's really powerful, what you're saying there, letting it go, surrendering.
Surrendering to
and I think
powerful.
I would say now to people that don't expect it all to be sorted out in some lovely manner, because you never know how it's going to come. But when it does, when you're in a different space, it allows you to be able to see that, rather than, you know, seeing my dad's death and emergency surgery. I could be going, oh, poor me, all this terrible stuff has happened to me. But it's enabled me to see, as life is playing out, what opportunity there is in that to grow and to use that to help others with.
Yeah, we spoke about that the other day, didn't we? We said when we've dealt with these situations in our life, and I know it's easier said than done because I've not been in that place, but it's really about not what is happening to me, but what can I learn from this particular situation.
Well, I just was walking along thinking about that this week, and it's not about what's happened to me, it's what's happening through me.
So you're allowing it to pass.
And when I know that it's happening through me, that makes a difference rather than to me.
Yes.
Because if it's to you, it'll stop and land and keep there. Whereas if it's through me, you go, do you know what? This is going to happen. It's going to happen, but it's temporary. It's going to pass. So there's a powerful distinction between it, you taking it on and it's stopping with you, and going through. Is that what I'm hearing there? Yeah,
that is quite a good one.
That is pretty good.
It's quite a good way of looking at things.
And when you start to understand how everything has played out, you can also then use the benefit of your hindsight as foresight when you're in that situation. So recently, it's only 6 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago today, I was in the operating theatre around about this time.
Yeah, that's right,
having emergency surgery. And it enabled me, although that was traumatic and unexpected, I was also able to use the benefit of knowing what had happened and played out before to see where
what the trigger was and the cause of it.
What this was all about, so I could be more peaceful with it and not be fearful.
And also as well, I'd imagine that, having done this, and it is for me, it's like having done Genesis and all the other things, the when you know this stuff and when you're living it, it makes the healing process so much easier and better and a lot more beneficial to you. Rather than it being a challenge, you can look at it in a much more different light. And although we go through it, we don't want it. But actually, I think the healing process is actually far better. And
it's almost graceful, even though even though it's going to be painful or hurting or whatever. It's kind of a graceful, painful hurting.
You're sort of okay with it.
Because what you realise is actually you're healing and you're getting better and getting stronger. And actually, as a result of this, after this this horrible thing that you might hate, you can grow from that rather than use it as an excuse going forward, which will then attract, like I'm going to have something else going on.
Well, I think it was you who said to me from previous interview you did with Jonathan.
Yeah.
And Jonathan said about the pain that I was in post-surgery was good because it meant it was leaving, it was going.
Yeah, it's in repair.
Whereas previous to that, I had no idea that was happening inside my body.
So that distinction of knowing the pain is actually a good thing. It's healing, it's repair, and that's actually part of the process. The pain is actually saying...
It is part of it.
It's part of it.
Yeah, so even though you don't want it, obviously they give you things like morphine and stuff to alleviate it, but there's part of me thinking, why have I got this pain? Rather than, just wanting the pain to go away. It's like, well, what is this pain? So I've had this operation, but now I'm still in pain. So why is that? Why am I not getting better faster?
Yep.
And I realised it's because I had to stop, to be still, to sit and have the time and the space to allow things to unfold rather than trying to work it out, which is what I had been doing previously, which is why I came to you and I'd got part way towards that solution, and then the rest of the solution came by itself.
Wow, that's powerful.
That is powerful. So so that obviously doing the vision and mission, and that's obviously helped you. So that's obviously played a quite significant part in your life now, and aiming towards the goal of where you're going in your life is pretty much based around, or has a very much an alignment with that. So how prolific has the reboot program been to you? Where would you as a marker of significance in your life, what would you say that? I mean, for me, it's probably one of the most significant things I've ever done in my life. But what about for you?
Well, there's two things. One is that coming to that point of your vision and mission. And as I said, when I came to that point, I knew it was true, but I didn't really see how it was going to play out. But next to my bed, still stuck up with bits of blue tack. Next to that is a flyer for an event, which is like where the vision and mission ultimately would lead to. So during all of that time, I then started to come across, because your mind shifts, you start to notice different things.
Yeah.
You're not focused on before. So what the reboot helped me to realise is that my radar was stuck.
Okay.
And it was, like you said about magnetising.
Yeah.
What I was doing is I've got my radar set on to search for what I don't want. So a submarine will go under the sea like this, looking for what? Bombs.
Yeah.
So what does it find?
Bombs.
Bombs.
Yeah.
It doesn't find peace, does it?
No.
It finds bombs. That's what it's designed for.
That's brilliant. I love it.
So it made me realise that the reason this is happening all the time is because my radar is set on finding bombs.
Yeah.
So all I ever found was bombs. All around the whole of the rest of the seabed is peaceful.
And
I didn't
beautiful.
notice any of that.
Yeah.
That's powerful. If that resonates with any of you, that's going on subconsciously.
Yeah.
And again, what we do at Reboot is we help sort of turn everything upside down. So you're not looking for those bombs now. You're looking for the coral. You're looking for the beautiful sands and the beach.
Yeah.
Maybe
So-
even to go up for air.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So my radar
absolutely.
was set on not wanting resentment towards me.
Yeah.
Hence the reason I didn't want my flame to get any bigger, to not shine, to create these scenarios unwittingly and unconsciously that always led me to, having a business but having no money, looking like I do, but having no boyfriends. Like, my love life was like, you know.
Yeah.
So it's always like, don't hate me because I haven't got a boyfriend. Don't hate me because I haven't got money. And so I started to realise that I've been playing out this whole pattern of please don't hate me.
Yeah.
Which is where the win-lose came
Yeah.
from. And once I realised that was where the radar's set, I think it might have been you, I don't remember, but I think it might have been you that pointed out to me that if you've been looking for resentment, you've not been looking for love. So you've missed all of that,
Yeah.
which made me cry, because I've missed noticing that, and it's been there all along. And so actually this operation that I've just had, it's 14 years since I had the last operation I had in a very similar scenario. It wasn't my appendix, 'cause you can't take them out twice, but I had a very similar scenario where one was here, both essentially what you would call burst. Yeah, so I suppose it was stuck, blocked, inflamed, perforated, burst, and in both places in my body. The first scenario was when I was stuck in not seeing the love. This time, the very different thing of this experience of having this operation is that I noticed all around me how much love there's been for me. So it highlighted to me that I've definitely shifted my focus towards looking for and noticing, and got my radar. I want my radar set to search for love, not bombs.
Absolutely. And my experience of you now, whenever I see you in the street, I light up. Joy, come and give you a big cuddle.
Yeah.
I often pick you up, don't I? That's
Yeah.
my thing. And you've attracted that, because that's where we're at with I mean, I know I'm a big bundle of hairy love as it is, but it's like I want to. I'm you know, I remember that time.
But pretty much most of the takers now are gone.
Yes, so am mine. I don't know, it's probably the same for you, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that I think with Reboot that it does actually completely shift your focus, like you say, and you start focusing on the things that work for you, and no longer focus on the things that don't work for you, or attract the things that don't work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really great. So you are the proclaimed and wonderful self-love guru. Yeah. So Kellie's well known for, or locally for her self-love workshops. You pride yourself on it. You've been able to help me massively with self-love, because I had zero self-love going on for me.
Yeah, you
And-
have been, I'm proud to say, the only boy at self-love workshop.
Yeah, I did enjoy
really?
it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really good actually, mate. It was like, honestly, you know, people go, oh, self-love is mad. Honestly, if you don't realise actually that, you know, well, you know, but really powerful. So I don't want to rattle on. So let's go down your journey now. Obviously, you've got your self-love workshops. You're just coming out of hospital. You're obviously on the mend. So what's now happening for Kellie and the self-love plan and your direction? Tell us and the viewers where you're going and your experience, and share some information with us on where you're headed.
Okay, well, in the next few weeks I'm headed to New York City
Are you?
for
Yeah.
22 days.
22 days, yeah.
So I've managed to manifest that for myself. So I'm off to finish my advanced yoga teacher training, which is really interesting for anybody who's going, but don't you own a yoga studio? Part of all the keeping myself from shining and please don't hate me was by not being a yoga teacher fully.
Right.
Yeah, little bit Pilates teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so unconsciously I believe that I chose the Pilates route, even though it seemed to be an organic process. There's still a choice in there.
Yeah.
I didn't come across a yoga course and decide to do that. Even though I was doing yoga, I chose the Pilates. But really, essentially inside me, yoga is what I'm all about. It's how I live, it's who I am.
Yeah.
But deep down inside me, there was part of me that knew that when I do that, if I follow this path, I'm going to shine.
Right.
Yeah. So it's probably better to stay here where
Yeah.
it's a slightly duller. And sorry, Pilates people out there, but between the two, yoga's just more sexy. Although I have punked up Pilates, and that's another manifestation story for another day. But yeah, so I'm going out for 22 days to do my advanced yoga training with Tara Stiles, doing my Strala Yoga. Strala Yoga, the reason I'm doing that is because the ethos of that sits with the self-love
paradigm.
Yeah, paradigm. So even though I've just had an operation, I don't feel fearful of doing 22 days. Strala Yoga is all about how it feels. Does it feel good? It's not about doing it so you're good at it.
Yeah.
It's doing it so that it feels good.
Right.
So I was going to be spending 22 days doing stuff so it feels good.
Yeah.
Not to be good at it.
Yeah.
And it will also...
That's a good metaphor
and
for
it
life,
also
actually.
will come back with ultimately the thing that I should have done all along.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm going to become a weekly teacher of classes. That's not where I'm at right now. I've decided, now that I know so much about myself, that being in that close proximity every week, week in, week out, with people helping them hands-on is something that is not actually that good for me. It's really good for them, but it's actually not that good for me. As in me as a person, me as a strong empath.
Yeah.
It can drain you, but it also has been holding me back from moving to where I should be.
So once you've done the training, you're going to be moving
I've got
on to
a one-day retreat booked, a self-love retreat booked at the end of September, which there will be more details about.
Yeah, and we'll probably promote that, Gregory, if you
Once
don't
you-
mind. We'll help
Once
you, and we'll
Once
put it
you've
on our
helped
Facebook
me
and
finish
stuff.
my website,
I will help you do finish your website, yes. But,
so many skills, us lot.
I know we are. I've got lots of them. But what we like to do is not shine and just sit in the corner and just let everybody else take on. Not anymore. So we'll do that. We'll notify you of the self-love workshop. They are actually really good, especially for a lot of you ladies out there, and you can learn a lot from our Kellie here. So you're going to do the workshop, and then obviously you're going to get your website finished, which is your own website about you and all about Kellie, basically.
There'll be my recipes and all the experiments and a bit more of the story and news about my upcoming book, which I have finally started after all this time.
Yes, it's great.
Have you started
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Sorry, that's
sorry.
that's a bit overwhelming.
Well,
Have you started it?
Yeah, well, part of what happens when you're, completely wiped out by emergency surgery and you can't move for 5 weeks, the one thing that does work is my fingers and my mind. Still, now that I'm off the morphine and I can focus, I've had enough time to sit and be quiet and realise that I've been given this opportunity. It's an opportunity rather than
It's reflective.
adversity.
Yeah.
It feels like adversity when it's happening, but I really did understand that I was being handed by spirit an opportunity to change everything. Obviously, there is some challenges coming up, but I know that I've got
life,
great
isn't it?
support if I need it within myself and surrounding me. I'm not going anywhere by myself. Poor old Kellie on her own anymore.
Not anymore.
That's
No.
really powerful
Not anymore.
distinction for you guys out there. Is often we think we're on our own. We go back, we shut the door, and we're on our own. Right? But that's just what you've made. That's a belief you have. Okay, and you might go, well, no, that's what's actually true. But that's your belief. Belief means what you hold to be true.
Yeah.
Now, what's happened? If you've watched many of the episodes, there's two things I noticed about everyone that we interview. One is the calmness of everyone, and two is this idea of what we call interdependency, where actually we're all here to help each other.
Yeah.
And we're not alone. Even when we shut that door and we go, we're not actually alone. Somebody's there. Maybe not that minute, but the next day or the next morning they'll be there. And it's almost like time doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's like I said in that last interview. I said that everybody that's done this program has not only massively benefited from it from a personal, and that's changed their life, but there's this unconscious community.
I like
There's
that unconscious community.
It's an unconscious community where everybody sort of knows everybody that's done it, and they don't really talk to each other, but they're always there, and it doesn't matter if they need you or if I just feel like reaching out to one of them. their arms are always going to be open, and there's this unconscious knowing that there's.
It's a connection as
It's
well,
a connection.
isn't
It's a lovely sort of thing to have.
it? Yeah, that's
as
pretty
well,
cool.
And I know
it's
it is cliche to say your vibe attracts your tribe,
Yeah.
but it is true.
It's true, yeah.
It's true. It's definitely true. And a really great scenario that happened to me, which I think is worth sharing, is I think it was last year sometime, and I'd started running these quite shyly at first, but I'd started to run these self-love workshops every couple of weeks, all on different subjects around that. And this particular one was about you are good enough. And then I went into a little crisis that day.
I remember that. I remember you.
I'm running a You Are Good
you was on
Enough
the phone to me
workshop.
that
Am I
day.
good enough
Yeah.
to run a You Are Good Enough workshop? Do I feel good enough? Am I really good enough to do that?
Yeah.
And I
that was
remember
real for
I
you?
bumped into you.
Yeah, well, you called me as well, didn't you? You
And I
said-
bumped into another girl
Yeah.
who was a client and a
remember
friend.
that,
And you both sort of G'd me up a little bit. And as I'm walking home down the road, I'm thinking, right, okay, the workshop starts in an hour and a half. I have to change this state that I'm in.
Yeah.
What do I know? I've got all these tools. I've learned all these tools. So I started to shift towards the better thoughts, away from those negative ones. I was like repeating a mantra in my mind as I'm going along. You know, why am I doing this? Back to my mission, vision. Yeah. Rip up the instructions. You're good enough, Kellie.
Yeah.
And as I'm walking along, I went into my front door, and as I walked in my front door, I heard a car bib outside. And there's traffic lights outside my house, so
Oh,
it's
that's
not
right, I
unusual,
remember
so I didn't take any notice. Didn't think for a minute they were bibbing me, if you like. And went indoors, and then my phone rang. I didn't recognise, it was a mobile number, didn't recognise it. And then there was a voicemail, so I picked up the thing, listened to the voicemail, and it was a guy that used to come to classes, and I used to go to his wife for some NLP, and hadn't seen them probably for a couple of years. And he just left this message saying, I just saw you going in your front door. I did bib you, but you didn't turn around. But I just wanted to say, you look so happy. And he said, and I've been around this world, and I get on that train every day. And he said, and it's very rare that you see someone really genuinely looking happy. And he said, and it might be a coincidence, but I've seen you a few times. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. And thank you for sharing that with the world.
Look at a message coming at that particular time as well. I mean, that's
And
beyond
so,
you needed it.
obviously, I phoned him back and I said, it's the divine timing of that message. I can't tell
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
But what it did is it proved to me that just by feeling good, because we were talking about vibe attracting your tribe, that's where this has come from, that feeling good feeling that I was feeling was actually not apparent to me that it was radiating out
To the environment.
but that phone call made me know that
Wow.
somebody else experienced that, what I was doing,
Unconscious, yeah.
without me knowing about
Yeah.
it. So if he was prepared to tell me how many people didn't.
Yes.
And so what it knew is it made me know that I made a difference just by existing.
Just by being you in that moment, by existing in that moment. That's
Marvellous.
powerful.
Yeah. And it
It's a great story.
gives you the confidence to...
Oh, I'll take it went on to be
Yeah.
a success that evening, and
And also, you know, all of this ultimately has led me towards a sort of a much bigger mission. You know, I said about teaching the world
Yeah.
to sit, you know, to write their own song and ripping up the instructions, but actually what we were just saying about unconscious connections, that everybody is connected. It's not just people who do this stuff and everybody else is separate.
yeah,
What it was is that we've been living in a world of separateness where it's been encouraged to be
separation.
separate.
Yeah,
Independence is the
And
king,
that
not
was always
interdependence.
Yeah.
ultimately what felt, and I'd managed to separate myself almost completely. You know, I've got to be this independent person who can look after
you've got to
myself.
stand on your own 2 feet, and
I don't need a bloke, I don't need this.
Yeah.
And that was not working.
It was not natural for us. Humans want to connect. We all want to connect. A baby would likes to be cuddled from the birth. It doesn't know anything about the world, and we're all born that baby.
So back to those walls.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
you do need to address them because they are what help you to realise you're not separate. It helps you to reconnect.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and there's so much out of it now. There, I mean, I watched one this morning telling to do it all yourself and go out there and conquer the world and that. And ultimately, it just leads to you feeling very lonely, very isolated, very vulnerable, and actually, you don't really have the interdependence where you're working with people.
No, you're actively pushing people away,
yeah,
which is the opposite of what our heart and what we want.
So just like the radar for bombs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The radar for independence.
Yeah.
Radar for loneliness.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So I think it's great. So is there anything else you want to tell us or talk to us about, or anything you've got planned coming up, or have you, apart from healing the world? Have you got anything else that you want to discuss with the viewers, or shall we wrap it up?
I don't think so.
So, well, it's been great having you, Kelly, as always, dear friend, and it's great. And thanks for sharing your experiences and where you're going. And obviously, we all wish you to get better really, really quickly.
Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming that our links will be in the...
Yeah, the links, well, we're just going to get onto that now. So,
well, you can say your link. Have you got any websites,
do you want to
share your website
or
anything like that, or Twitter or Facebook?
Well, I will do, even though it's not finished. Eventually there'll be some content, everyone. And funnily enough, about separateness, my website is kelliejones.me.
Yeah.
kelliejones.me.
Which I felt...
How do you spell Kelly?
KELLIEJONES.
.me.
Yep. And if you've got your self-love plan on Facebook and Twitter as well, haven't you?
I have.
And Instagram?
Instagram is probably where you're most likely to find me.
Yeah.
So it's Kellie Jones.
That's Kellie Jones Loves 77.
Kellie Jones.
Favourite year.
Kellie Jones Loves 77. So that's great. Thanks ever so much, Kelly. So do you want to tell our viewers if they're a little bit more about the Reboot program, how they can get involved, and what other ways they can contact us and help us?
So there's.
Off you go, Greg.
Thank you very much, Steve.
That's all right.
Thanks, Kelly. So in a moment you'll be able to see around this video that there's a couple of links. One will be for reboot.uno or www.reboot.uno, which should lead to a quiz, and also there's a webinar that we have, which is the first stage of 3 to go through we talked about the Genesis program earlier. That's the third part. That's the 4 to 5 day thing. Forget that at the moment because that's way down the line. The first thing we do is either a private or a public seminar, or a private or public webinar. The public webinars and seminars are free. The next webinar coming up, if you go to the webinar registration, which you can get through to the reboot.uno, or there should be a link to the webinar registration page. It's 2 hours. It will be an eye-opener. Be prepared to participate and uncover and find out. It's kind of like a marker in life where you are. So there's no reference to where we are in life, but this is kind of like a little guide. So it's about 2 hours. You get to ask any questions. Again, it's used to be charged for, but now it's completely free, and that's called Reboot Insights. And should you be brave enough after that, or you feel that this is something that you might want to pursue, then there's the live, which is a whole day, but that will come at the end of the webinar. And then the other thing that we do is a new thing that we do is just called Reboot Open Evening. Okay, and what that is we at the Two Brewers Pub. If you go to Eventbrite and look up Reboot, it will give you the latest dates that we do. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's informal. It's an open evening. You just come and ask any questions about what we do. We're there with a flip chart and a pint.
Yeah, well, it's good because so what we do is we obviously you can ask us any questions about about what it is about the course. You might even want to come to us about a particular issue that you've got going on, and you might want to share with us that we might be able to resolve with you. If we can't help you, we certainly have people within our fraternity that are experts in the field and that can probably help. But it'll also allow you to ask a little bit more about the Reboot programme in general, and we can explain it in a bit more detail on a one-to-one basis.
Absolutely. I think we're done.
Okay, great. Well, look, thanks for joining us. We look forward to our next interview, which we've got one coming up next week.
3, I think.
We've got 3 more interviews. So, so thanks again. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Kelly for coming out in this really hot sun. It's a cracking day, isn't it? So thanks, thank you, and goodbye.
Ciao. Bye bye.